This road sign means A. Increase your speed. B. Railroad crossing ahead. C. Intersection ahead. D. Four-way stop ahead. C. Intersection ahead. This sign means that you are approaching an upcoming intersection. Watch carefully for cross traffic. This sign means A. A left curve is ahead. B. A series of curves is ahead. C. An S-curve is ahead. D. The road will be slippery when wet. D. The road will be slippery when wet. This sign warns that especially slippery conditions exist when the road is wet. Before turning, you should A. Use your signal. B. Turn the wheel. C. Increase your speed. D. Change lanes. A. Use your signal. To complete a turn safely, you should activate your turn signal 3 to 4 seconds before your turn. Before entering a roundabout, you must slow down and yield to A. Vehicles in the roundabout. B. Bicyclists in the roundabout. C. Pedestrians in the roundabout. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. When entering a roundabout, you must yield to pedestrians, bicyclists, and vehicles that are already in the roundabout.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
Roads freeze quickly when they are A. Flat. B. Curvy. C. In the sun. D. Shaded. D. Shaded. In cold or wet weather, you should take special care on sections of road that are shaded by trees or buildings. These areas freeze more quickly than the rest of the road and are the last parts of the road to dry. This sign means A. The highway ahead curves only to the right. B. The highway ahead turns sharply to the right. C. The highway ahead curves to the right and then to the left. D. The highway ahead curves to the left and then to the right. C. The highway ahead curves to the right and then to the left. Warning signs are used to warn drivers about upcoming hazardous conditions and are usually yellow with black markings. This sign warns drivers that the road ahead curves to the right and then to the left. An octagonal sign is always a A. Speed limit sign. B. Stop sign. C. Hospital sign. D. Railroad warning sign. B. Stop sign. Octagonal signs are always stop signs. Come to a complete stop when approaching a red, 8-sided sign. Which of the following best ensures your safety and the safety of those around you when you are backing your vehicle? A. Honk your horn right before shifting into reverse. B. Check behind the vehicle before you get into the driver's seat. C. Check your rearview mirrors to see what is behind you. D. Turn up the car radio before backing up to get the attention of anyone who may be around you. B. Check behind the vehicle before you get into the driver's seat. Backing requires extra caution because it is difficult for drivers to see behind their vehicles. Before entering a vehicle to back up, walk to the back of the vehicle to check for children and small objects. Distracted driving is A. Very uncommon. B. Extremely risky behavior. C. Nothing to be concerned about. D. No less safe than driving under any other conditions. If you are driving so slowly that traffic is backing up behind you, you should A. Decrease your speed. B. Pull off the right side of the road and let traffic pass. C. Not let the other cars pass your vehicle. D. Use your four-way flashers. B. Pull off the right side of the road and let traffic pass. Driving more slowly than the flow of traffic can be hazardous. If you are on a two-lane, two-way road and driving so slowly that traffic is backing up behind you, you are required to pull off the road and let the other vehicles pass. Only drive significantly under the speed limit when conditions require it. A driver approaching a flashing red traffic signal must A. Slow down at the light. B. Drive carefully without stopping. C. Merge to the right. D. Stop before entering the intersection. D. Stop before entering the intersection. A flashing red light means that you must stop, yield to traffic and pedestrians, and go only when it is safe. At a railroad crossing, a flashing red light indicates that a train is approaching. Yield to the train, and go only when the lights have stopped flashing and all other active warning devices deactivate. This sign means A. Emergency vehicles ahead. B. Uncontrolled intersection ahead. C. Four-way stop ahead. D. Traffic signal ahead. D. Traffic signal ahead. This sign warns that a traffic signal is ahead. This sign means A. No U-turn. B. No turning. C. No left turn. D. No right turn. A. No U-turn. This sign prohibits U-turns. Do not make a U-turn where this sign is posted. When must you yield to a stopped transit bus that is about to re-enter traffic? A. Only if there are cars behind you. B. If the bus has turned on its hazard lights. C. When the bus has its turn signal and flashing yield sign activated. D. Never. The bus must wait for traffic to clear. C. When the bus has its turn signal and flashing yield sign activated. You must yield to a stopped transit bus when the bus driver signals to re-enter a traffic lane and there is a flashing yield sign on the back of the bus. Move over or slow down to allow the bus to safely merge back into moving traffic. A good defensive driver. A. Drives slowly at all times. B. Looks out for the actions of other drivers. C. Travels at a constant speed. D. Only drives in familiar areas. B. Looks out for the actions of other drivers. Even the most experienced drivers can be distracted while driving. A defensive driver looks out for the actions of other drivers and anticipates potential problems. The no zone is A. A term used to describe blind spots around a truck or bus. B. A special speed zone. C. A roadway with restrictions on vehicle stereo volume. D. The television show that replaced the Twilight Zone. A. A term used to describe blind spots around a truck or bus. A truck or bus has blind spots on each side, in the rear, and in the front. An automobile cannot be seen in these blind spots. These blind spots are referred to as the no zone. At a school crossing sign, you should A. Always stop, whether there's a stop sign or not. B. Watch for children and be ready to stop. C. Always sound your horn when you see children. D. Be ready to help children crossing the street. B. Watch for children and be ready to stop. You must always yield to pedestrians who are in or about to enter a crosswalk. Be alert to pedestrians when driving across intersections or turning. A flashing yellow light at an intersection means that you should A. Slow down and proceed with care. B. Continue normally through the intersection. C. Stop and proceed when a green light appears. D. Stop and proceed when the way is clear. A. Slow down and proceed with care. A flashing yellow light at an intersection means caution. If you approach such a light, slow down, look, and proceed with care. If someone is driving aggressively behind you, you should A. Try to get out of the aggressive driver's way. B. Stare at the driver as he or she is passing you. C. Speed up as he or she is passing you. D. Block the passing lane. A. Try to get out of the aggressive driver's way. If you encounter an aggressive driver, you should make every attempt to get out of their way. You should avoid making eye contact with a hostile driver. Challenging a hostile driver by speeding up may only make them angrier, thereby increasing their danger. What should you do when you see this sign? A. Look for a train station ahead. B. Signal before going any further. C. Slow down and yield for trains. D. Stop. C. Slow down and yield for trains. This sign indicates that there is a railroad crossing on the road ahead. You should always slow down when approaching a railroad crossing. Trains cannot yield to cars, so you must let them pass before crossing the tracks. When exiting a highway, you should slow down. A. On the main road, just before the exit lane. B. Once you see a toll booth. C. Once you have moved into the exit lane. D. When you first see the exit sign. C. Once you have moved into the exit lane. When exiting a highway, you should get into the exit lane well in advance. Do not begin to slow down until after you have moved into the exit lane. When sharing the road with a truck, it is important to remember that trucks generally A. Require longer distances to stop than smaller vehicles do. B. Require less time to pass on a downgrade than smaller vehicles do. C. Require a smaller turning radius than smaller vehicles do. D. Require less time to pass on an incline than smaller vehicles do. A. Require longer distances to stop than smaller vehicles do. Because of their size, trucks need longer distances to stop than smaller vehicles do. A flashing red traffic signal at an intersection has the same requirements as A. A slow sign. B. A yield sign. C. A stop sign. D. An intersection sign. C. A stop sign. When approaching a flashing red signal, you must stop and yield to all traffic that does not have to stop. Fill in the blank. Limit your concentration, perception, judgment, and memory. A. Only a blood alcohol level greater than the legal limit can. B. Alcohol does not. C. Even the smallest amount of alcohol can. D. Only a blood alcohol level greater than 0.05% can. C. Even the smallest amount of alcohol can. Even the smallest amount of alcohol will reduce your concentration, perception, judgment and memory, and your driving skills will suffer. No one can drink and drive safely. To prepare for anything coming up on the road ahead, you should A. Continually scan the entire road and all roadsides. B. Stare straight ahead at all times. C. Drive with your left foot resting lightly on the brake pedal. D. Maintain focus toward the middle of the road. A. Continually scan the entire road and all roadsides. Your ability to handle dangerous traffic situations depends largely on searching for and identifying problems before meeting them. Looking far ahead of your vehicle does not mean you should simply stare at the center of the road. You need to continually scan the entire road, including the sides of the road. This road sign means A. Road construction ahead. B. The road ahead curves left, then right. C. The road ahead curves right, then left. D. Steep grade ahead. C. The road ahead curves right, then left. This sign indicates that the road ahead curves to the right and then to the left. You should slow down to be able to negotiate these curves safely. To avoid being in a truck or bus driver's blind spot, you should A. Never pass them. B. Avoid driving alongside them and avoid tailgating. C. Flash your lights at them. D. Sound your horn. B. Avoid driving alongside them and avoid tailgating. Because a large vehicle, such as a truck or bus, has large blind spots to its sides and rear, avoid driving alongside such a vehicle and do not tailgate one. This road sign means A. A steep grade is ahead. B. You must turn left ahead. C. Do not enter. D. A four-way intersection is ahead. D. A four-way intersection is ahead. This sign warns that a four-way intersection is ahead. Fog can greatly reduce the visibility of other vehicles, pedestrians, and traffic signals. When driving in fog, you should A. Drive cautiously and reduce your speed. B. Not use your high-beam headlights. C. Use low-beam headlights to better illuminate the road and objects. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Fog can greatly reduce your ability to see other vehicles, pedestrians, and traffic signals. When driving in fog, drive cautiously and at reduced speeds. Do not use high-beam headlights. Low beams better illuminate the road and objects ahead in foggy conditions. It is important to be alert to motorcycles because A. They are more difficult to see than cars. B. They rarely use their headlights. C. Motorcyclists are less skilled drivers than other motorists. D. All of the above. A. They are more difficult to see than cars. Motorcycles are smaller and harder to see than cars. Because of their size, they are easily hidden in a car's blind spot. It may be difficult to judge your distance to a motorcycle and difficult to tell how fast a motorcycle is moving, so always be alert and extra cautious when near a motorcyclist. You are driving when it starts to sleet or snow. You should A. Keep your windshield and mirrors clear. B. Allow additional distance between your vehicle and the vehicles that you are following. C. Approach all vehicles with caution. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. In snowy weather, keep your windshield and mirrors clear. Increase your following distance when driving in wet and cold weather because a slippery road surface will increase the distance needed for your vehicle to stop. Do not pass. A. On a hill or curve. B. When school bus lights are flashing. C. When approaching an intersection. D. All of the above. If you become stranded in a snowstorm, the best thing to do is to A. Get out of the car and go for help. B. Lay down in your car and go to sleep. C. Walk into the road and get the attention of other drivers. D. Stay in the car, as you are most likely to be found when you stay in your vehicle. D. Stay in the car, as you are most likely to be found when you stay in your vehicle. If you become stranded in a snowstorm, the best thing to do is stay in your car and wait for help. You are most likely to be found if you don't leave your vehicle. Additionally, it may be unsafe to walk around outside in a snowstorm. An approaching driver fails to dim their high-beam headlights. Where should you look? A. At the wheels of the approaching vehicle. B. Toward the right side of the road. C. Toward the left side of the road. D. Straight down the middle of the road. B. Toward the right side of the road. If an approaching driver fails to dim their high beams, glance toward the right side of the road. This will keep you from being blinded by the other vehicle's headlights and will allow you to see enough of the road to stay on course until the other vehicle has passed. This sign means A. No parking. B. Divided highway ahead. C. Left turn signal. D. Yield. A. No parking. Regulation signs regulate traffic speed and movement, displaying rules which drivers must obey. This regulation sign indicates that parking is not permitted.